Hello and welcome to Pembrey Circuit out in South Wales. Here we are again, 2019 BTRDA Clubmans Rallycross. It's a slightly altered layout for this year, so I thought I'd take you guys around and show you how to do it really. The major alteration for this year is the moving of the start line. This year it's right down here by the turn one with this very high-tech light holding system, keeping the World Rallycross spec lights up in the vision of everybody. It used to be further back round the corner, giving you a longer run to turn one. This is a bit better. It means you're not going as fast when you get to that first corner. It means that it's a bit safer, and also it means they can run the crossing at all times, so they can keep the spectators happy a bit easier. So we've made our sort of short 50-metre-ish stretch down to turn one. A bit of an odd one this. We only ever use it once in a race. You only ever approach it on cold tyres with cold brakes and with 6 or 7 other cars around you. So it's tighter than it looks. You have to slow right down, and you have to keep out the way of everybody else as well. It's a lot of it as well is thinking about the fact no matter which way around the circuit you're going, you've got to go right immediately afterwards. So realistically, even the inside of this corner isn't the best place to be at the start of the race. But it really does depend on what's going on around you, because it's absolute carnage at this point. So you've made it through turn one, you come in up to here to turn two. Now it's a tight right-hander, you're keeping on the inside, trying to keep out of the loose, deep dirt on the outside. Now, lap one, this is a right-hander. You come back to it in 40 seconds time, when you come to the end of your lap, it's left-hander. We'll talk about that on the end of the video, because it's flows a bit better if you talk about it that way. So here we are in the start of the loose section. Now this really is an acceleration zone out of either the last corner or the first corner, depending on how you're approaching it. Now there's these big rumble strips on the inside. In a small car, you might have to keep off them to keep keep it from damage and save your suspension. But in a big car like mine, you can just run over those and you try and keep as inside and tight as possible, because that's where the hard tarmac is. All of the loose stuff gets swept right out to the outside here, and you can see it is really loose and it is thick when you get out there. So this is going to be about keeping yourself on the line, and especially if you're in a pack with other people, not letting them force you into the dirt. So you've accelerated off the first gravel right-hander, you come up to this point, and really you have to slow down for this corner. And usually you dab a left foot brake in the front wheel drive car, and a little dab of left foot brake, keep the throttle in just to keep that front nose in the corner. And again, you're keeping on the inside. It gets loose and dirty out there, and this is solid tarmac. These curbs, again, here you're on my car, you go straight over the top of them, soak them up, ba-dum, and yeah, they unsettle you a little bit, but it's better than being out there in the loose stuff. So you come up there, you're managing the wheel spin up the straight, you're going back left here. Now this is a really crucial corner, because you don't want to run wide, you ruin the line for the next corner, and especially you don't want to run wide early in the corner, because the way the road drops away from you on the outside of the circuit, and it is so easily to just get washed straight on here, especially if it's wet or if it's extra dirty on that day, and it can really ruin your race if you get out there. Your final right-hander on the loose is, more than anything, it's a braking zone. The next corner is the tightest on the track. It's a first gear hairpin. It goes from loose onto the tarmac back straight. So you're braking, trying to slow down there and trying not to unsettle the car too much. Now, some guys use it to sort of kick it right so they can scandally flick it back left. But depending on how that works, that leaves you stopped or slower on the apex. And realistically, this is being the tightest corner on the circuit, and the corner before the big long straight is when you want to carry your speed through it, take a wide line in and cut it in late. And if you cut it in late, you get that longer run up the straight. But then if there's somebody behind you, they're easily going to lunge you if you try and run it wide. So really, you've got to play it by ear as you get to this point. Here we have the longest straight on the circuit. It's not really a long straight by certainly circuit standards and even by rallycross standards, but being the longest straight on the circuit, it's important both as an overtaking point and just as a lap time point. You've just got to make sure you don't run out into this grass, because as soon as we get out here and on that little bit, you've ruined the entire straight. So you're coming out of there, you're keeping your foot in, and then you're trying to get that long run up the straight, and you're trying to keep out, look in your mirrors for somebody coming up from behind you. you head along straight, you're in third, fourth gear, depending on what car and gearbox you're running, and you come to the big braking zone at the end of the straight. Now there is this great big expansive curve, and although it looks fairly tempting, it's not that grippy, and it's also unsettling your car as you're turning right then to go and straightening up then to go back left again. So really you're sticking over here on the white line, you're not really kinking over to the left, over to the right to get the braking zone in, and you're looking not really for that first apex. As we go around the corner, I'll explain why that apex is entirely irrelevant, unless of course you've got somebody on the inside of you. So you get to this point, you've missed that apex, so that you've got a better run at this one. Now here, you need to keep it tight so that for the extra right-hander afterwards. So if you're tight on that apex, you've missed that apex, which means you've missed that apex, which means you missed the next one on the way around to the finish line. So really, this is the important corner for the whole rest of the lap. So you've caught that apex and you're keeping it over to the left as much as you dare. Now there is some rougher areas over there, some grass going through, and really you're not that far out, but you are looking to be that far out so that when you come through to this right-hander and you change onto the really sticky brand new tarmac, then you've got a straight line looking at the apex and looking at the finishing line as a straight line. You're not trying to run out and over there, and you're not trying to get in there really early. You're looking late on the apex, right further into the distance, because really that's where you're worried about, that's where you want to be. So you've come through the final chicane, you've clipped that final little curb, and realistically if anybody's passed you, they've done it back there. Here you're not likely to be with anybody, with side by side with anybody. So you let it run wide, you don't take out the timing beam, the timing guys really don't like that, and you keep going here, and realistically it's a flat out left-hander right back round to where we started. Now as you get to the end, it gets tighter and tighter and tighter, which is really difficult because especially on the tyres, you're getting that hot outside front really hot and you're really wearing it away, and then you have to stop on it. So it's really a one to think about, especially towards the end of a race on a hot day. Stopping at this corner up here is really difficult. So you're thinking about it really from back here, trying to get that straight line into the final corner, which we'll talk about more in a minute. So round from the finishing line, you've got this short bit of straight track. I say straight, it doesn't feel like a straight when you're driving it, but it is actually straight. And that's when you use to slow down for this left-hander. Now, this is a prime overtaking spot during the race day. So realistically, most of the time you're defending this inside apex. That's not the quickest way around the lap. The quickest way around the lap is the middle of the circuit here. Keep it wide, and then cut it late on this apex, which is the corner from right, or is turn 2, just the other way around. So when you get into this point, you want to get close to those tyres. You want to keep that tight line so that you're not scrabbling over the curbs on the loose section. Because again, it's an important acceleration zone. That's where you gain your speed. And really, that's where you make the time.